Good morning, everyone. I'm very glad to be here with you, and I'm Daria Palumbo from the Italian Civil Protection Department. And today I would like to talk about the European civil protection, and because this is my daily job since I started working in the department after the earthquake in L'Abruzzo. And because I work in the International Relations Unit, so I deal with the European civil protection. We can go ahead, and as I said, I will talk about this European civil protection. And I would like to focus on the main role of the Union Civil Protection Mechanism, which is the heart of the European civil protection. The mechanism was created in 2001, and it was necessary to do so because the previous disasters showed that a better coordination could save life, and it was needed in order to preserve life, but also health and goods and the wealth of the European mechanism. In order to do so, it started in 2000. We have to remember that it started in 2001, and then it developed in several different phases. Okay. And how does it work? It was established and it's created by several countries, not only the 27 EU countries, but also 9 participating states. And that's very important to underline this, because during the last 20 years, we have experienced the importance of prevention, preparedness, and response to disaster, because we have been supported by this mechanism, and we have realized what an added value it is. That means that other countries decided to join the mechanism, and they decided to be part of it, although it's very difficult to create relations with different countries and different stories and different histories. And a very important support is provided by the Commission that funds several actions, and it's very important to say that recently that 75% of the goods have been transported with the support, the financial support of the European mechanism. How does it work? When a disaster strikes and the national response capabilities are not enough to respond to this situation, then we can activate the civil protection mechanism, and think that it has been activated over 650 times since the beginning. And as you can see from this slide, we are now 36 states that are part of this mechanism, and some of them are participating states. And as you can see, it's a very important tool because it gives us the opportunity to start a dialogue with the communities, with the nations like Turkey, for example. And how do we do our job? A very important key role is played by the Emergency Response Coordination Center. The acronym is ERCC, and this is the operational room that we can find based in Brussels. And we dialogue with this tool every day. We receive information from them, but when an emergency strikes, then it works like this. A disaster happens, and then inside or outside the EU, it doesn't matter because we can intervene wherever. And then the affected country requests for assistance through this ERCC, and they decide monitoring the situation, and they start a dialogue with the affected country in order to understand the needs. It's very important to underline this, because we are intervening because there are needs to be supported, and we have to wait for a request for assistance. That's very important, because most of the people think that when a disaster strikes, we simply intervene, but it doesn't happen like this, because we have to be very efficient and we have to be focused on the result. So, as I said, that's the main role of the Emergency Response Coordination Center. We consider it the heart of the EU civil protection mechanism, and it's very important to deliver assistance, but not only this, because here I wanted to explain how it works, because they have different functions. They work 24 hours, 7 days a week, and they monitor, observe, pre-alert, alert, and in case they activate the mechanism, and they provide satellite images and also very important information. They have these eco-info products, and it's a kind of a summary of the situation, where we can have an overview of what is going on in the stricken country, so that we know who is there, what they are doing, and how we can help. And this is one of the main tools. It is called CESIS, and it's a common emergency communication information system. Not everybody can have access to this, because they have a limited access, and it's due to the fact that it contains very sensitive information. Inside of the CESIS, you can find these the modules, but you can find, generally speaking, resources registered in it. And you have human resources, material resources, but the key role is played by the modules. Because what we want to deliver has to be known by the affected country, and we have to be very clear about what we are delivering. So there is a kind of what we call a fact sheet. That is, inside of the fact sheet you can have all the information related to the modules. So the modules are predefined teams. As I said, combination of staff and technical equipment, so human and material resources, has to be self-sufficient and autonomous for some hours, because if you are affected by a disaster, you cannot take care of what is coming, so they must be self-sufficient. They are combined resources, and that's another added value, because they put together different resources from different countries in case, and then they perform tasks according international guidelines, so you know what they are able to do, and they are very quick to be, and in order to be dispatched in very short time, and usually it's 32, 48 hours, has to be interoperable. That means that they must be able to work with other teams, and they need to be trained and exercised, because we want them to be prepared. And we have to know that they are able to respond to a disaster in the best way. And then they have to be registered in the CESIS, so that everybody knows what is in there and the main characteristic. And very important to say is that any country in the world, so also the United Nations and its agency and any relevant international organization, can call on EU civil protection mechanism for help. And in the last year, it was activated 106 times. If you think of what happened in the war in Ukraine, for example. But now that we are in the summertime, another key role is played by the wildfire in Europe, and then the SARS-CoV-19 was another big issue that we have to deal with. And more recently, there was the floods in Pakistan. And another key rule, another tool that we use is this RESC-AU. That's the last resource that we have implemented in order to provide additional assistance in case we don't have enough resources already available. And mainly this RESC-AU is kind of additional layer to support the countries, and it's managed by the Commission. It's fully financed by the Commission, and it was invented because there were some very severe emergency, like for example the forest fire fighting, and so we need to have a very quick response and resources to answer to this kind of emergency. But in the meanwhile, it has been used for several other emergencies, like for example the SARS-CoV-2 in Europe and worldwide, because we realized that we need so many resources and we didn't have enough in our countries, and so we have to provide additional means, and so we decided to organize some apps. From there, we could deliver this kind of routes and to be more effective. And during the SARS-CoV-2, another key role was played by the rescue medevac, because it was very challenging for us to move very highly infectious patients, and it was another very important step to develop our capacities. But the SARS-CoV-2 was very important because for the first time we could enhance our cooperation with also with external action, European external action, and the mechanism itself was able to repatriate several people. It was 100,000 people, and if you think that it was performed by the mechanism, out of the 600 EU citizens that needed to be repatriated. In order to do so, we had the mechanism organize over 400 flights. And it's important because the previous one were commercial flights. This one were organized by the mechanism itself. And another very important issue was to provide assistance to Ukraine, because the mechanism is not supposed to work in a war scenario, but in order to support the Ukrainians, we organize medical evacuation services and assistance through the rescue medical and emergency and shelter stockpiles. And in order to do so, we organize different places from where this assistance could be delivered. So I thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any question, I'm here.
Thank you very much for the information you provide us. If there are questions, no? Mi hanno sentito? Ah, ok, sorry. Thank you very much for your intervention. I'm asking the audience if there are questions for you. No? Just, may I make a question? I read in your slides that the activation for the war in Ukraine were 106. Then you were explaining and this intervention was...
excuse me, could you, I can't hear you very well. Could you speak louder, please?
Here the volume is very high. Okay, sorry. Technology is always threatening people.
Okay.
So I was asking you the following. I read that the activations for the war in Ukraine were 106. And then you were explaining many things concerning health services, so medical devices, etc. It was only in health problems that was
sorry. All the activations of the previous year altogether there were 106.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the war in Ukraine had played a key role in this because we organized several operations there because we had to support the population in different cases. We have to provide shelters, we have to sustain, for example, the energy sector, we have to provide medical evacuation, we have to provide goods, resources, like, for example, field hospital or medical teams. So several interventions, and that's why that was a huge effort for all of us.
Have been working in Italy, but also in other parts of the world, like Algeria or Libya, Sri Lanka, and so on. Well, anyway, I'm going to show my presentation. In a very quick way, I show you some experiences, some disasters, even if my previous colleague has shown you in his presentation. I go, sorry, it's better to sit down. Very fast, some emergencies, like in 1998, Sarno 15 in Campania region, many casualties, and then San Giuliano, an earthquake, 2002. Then here is a special emergency, 2008 in Campania, for garbage emergency. As you see, very different kinds of emergency. Then l'Aquila, Emilia-Romagna, the sisma in the center of Italy, 2016, Rigopiano, an avalanche, owing to seismic phenomena. Then COVID, and now 2023, but we have spoken about this emergency yet. I should like to say that my personal goal, is to show you the links between the BREADI project and the civil protection organization from the Italian point of view, naturally. So, In the matter of the civil protection, it is important to have a look to the laws. The first law is in 1982, the second law is 1992, and the last, the current law is the law number 1 in 2018. The general goal is safeguarding human life and health, property, culture, and housing heritage, animals, and the environment from natural or man-made disasters. It's a very general vision. The mandate. The organization is particularly because for what matter service function as a system, the civil protection is a function attributed to not at a unique minister, but to an articulated system which has assigned a special administration. Here you can say the picture about the functions. The first function is a forecast. That is the identification and the study of possible risk scenarios. Then the prevention, the preparation, that is measures aimed to reduce the risk. The emergency management, there is an integrated and coordinated set of measures and interventions for assistance and rescue. At last, but not least, overcoming the emergency, removal of obstacles to the resumption of normal living conditions. I think that these two goals are very important to forecast and to make the right prevention and the right preparation. Otherwise, if we speak only about the management of the emergency, we cannot solve the problems. The prediction is the forecasting phase that consists in the elaboration of, for example, of a meteorological forecast and in the evaluation of the effects on the ground. But here we speak about a particular phenomenon. Then, to make the assessment, which represents the scenario of the event, the expected event, and the effects expected and damages that could be caused on the integrity of life, property, settlements, and the environment, so that we can arrange or organize all the right organization to face these effects. We are speaking still about prediction, and in particular, in relation to the organization, the civil protection system service has organized for the forecast central function centers. Institute at the headquarters of the National Department of Civil Protection at Rome, in Vidrociano Street, that are different from, these forecasts are different from the classic and generic weather forecasts disseminated through the media to citizens. Why? They allow, in particular, on the one hand, to focus only on situations that exceed certain tension or alarm thresholds, and therefore to be considered potentially harmful to people or things. On the other hand, they allow for more detailed information on incoming meteorological events, despite the uncertainty of the forecast, because we know that the forecast is not perfect, not precise. We have to improve our methods, our tools, to make the right predictions. And these forecasts are very important because the politicians, the administrations can adopt the right procedures, tools, and other kind of also of man services that can face the emergency. In fact, we are speaking about the detailed information. We need detailed information, but I think that we are not prompt at this stage. Also because usually we speak about disturbed weather, light rain, heavy showers, strong winds, that are not very important for the organization of the prediction and the emergency services. This information must push us for possible compatibility with the uncertainty of the forecast, precise on the detail with respect to the probable timing, location, and the quantification of the expected phenomena. This is the problem, the main problem to solve. I go fast. We have a technical group for weather forecasting. This group includes, in addition to the Central Function Center in Rome, other centers of expertise, the meteorological services of the Air Force and the decentralized functional centers of the Regional Agency for Environmental Protection of Piedmont and Emilia-Romagna, which have recognized expertise also on a national scale. When or if necessary, the technical group for weather forecasts also consults other decentralized functional centers, extending the sharing of the forecast to the regions, potentially affected by adverse weather events. It's important to say that every day by 12, this technical group produces a weather forecast document valid for the day on which it is issued and for subsequent ones. On the basis of this document, the decentralized functional centers in each region, if possible, prepare the forecast of interest for the region and proceed with the evaluation of the effects on the ground. Also, this is important information about prediction, national weather surveillance bulletins. The National Meteorological Supervisory Bulletin is an information linking tool for all decentralized functional centers which reports the meteorological phenomena. We have an information very homogeneous. Phenomena relevant for civil protection purposes forecast up to 12 p.m. on the day of issues and in the 24 hours of the following day, plus the expected trend for the next day. Again, the document is published every day at 15 on this website. Prediction. Oops. About prediction, we noticed that we have a prediction that is not structural. It means alert the functions, the dissemination of the culture of civil protection information to the population and emergency communication. This is very important because populations always has not any notice. self-protections and rules of conduct, civil protecting planning, connection and integration with territorial planning, training, tutorials and application of technical regulation. This is the prediction, not structural. The structural prediction is participation in the definition of structural risk prevention policies, participation in the planning of mitigation interventions, execution of structural mitigation interventions in the event of calamitous events, integrated actions of structural and non-structural prevention. We can see that culture is civil protection. You have also already read this slide. So, the Civil Protection Department coordinates the National Civil Protection Service, which includes many institutions and organizations. For instance, public government, ministries, regions, provinces, municipalities, and metropolitan cities, emergency service, operating structure, etc. Fire brigade, for instance. Scientific, academic, universities, research institutes, and so on. Civil society, volunteers, private companies, professional associations. This is a modern vision of the service, of the system. The volunteers in private companies, I dare say the population, the whole population. We look at National Fire Brigade, Air Force, Italian Army, Navy, Port Authorities, Italian Red Cross, but also CNR, National Research Council, research organization and institutions for national importance, ISPRA, another institute, ENGV, the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology. Here we speak about the citizens and the volunteering. In Italy, the citizens is called to a new responsibility through individual or collective participation in civil protection activities, not only in emergencies, but always. We have to prepare the population before an emergency, before a phenomenon. Otherwise, there is no collaboration. Examples of participated planning already exist, as well as dissemination of knowledge and training by individual citizens and organized volunteering. But we have to increase this kind of organization. It is not easy, but we must try. You must try. I'm old. I don't know much time. This is the important principle. It is the principle of subsidiarity. We have read already this. I repeat this because it is very important. The principle of subsidiarity. The National Civil Protection Service system operates in an integrated way at local, regional, and central level, depending on the declared emergency conditions. Level A is local, level B provincial and regional. Levels A and B can be managed through ordinary resource management, organization, money, and so on, men, tools. Level C, national or international. Level C can be managed with the extraordinary resource, because the event, the emergency is too big to be faced only at the A or B level. I speak a local level, municipalities and so on. The state intervenes at the request of the presidents of the region involved when region and the municipalities are unable to provide for themselves vertical subsidiarity. This is important. The state cannot intervene without the ask from the regions and the municipalities. This is the law. This is established by the law, the national law. Here is the link I told about the European Crisis and Emergency Management. There is a link, I think, between the civil protection activities and organization and the BREADI project. We speak about risk management, crisis, disaster, emergency. Have used all these terms because in Europe, in the world, we have different meanings. But we must think that we must be able to be certain that we are speaking about the same thing. If I speak about the crisis, we all know that we are speaking about the crisis, and not there must not be any mismatch. It is not easy. In the project, we have written a special glossary. I think that we have shared it, so that each one, everybody, can see, can know what is the subject about which we are speaking. In case of events derived by natural, anthropogenic, and modern risks, generally under the responsibility of the civil protection, or terrorism and threats to the government or to the public, healthy, generally under the responsibility of the civil defense, the procedures and the chain of command must follow specific rules and diversified organizational schemes. Look, here I speak about civil defense and civil protection. I speak about civil protection because the organization is very different wherever, whenever you are. Each country has its own organization, both in civil protection and in civil defense activities. Nevertheless, in Europe, the terms danger, crisis, emergency, security, vulnerability, risk evaluation, perception of risk, recovery, preparedness, and so on, must be clear and unambiguous. We have ambiguity also in Italy. When I speak to my colleagues and so on, we are not certain that we are speaking about the same thing. So the effort is very big. Since they do not represent the same thing, even the thought there is a string interaction among them. Crisis and emergencies, disaster are very similar, they're synonymous. Oh. BREADI aim is to increase the systemic capacity of resilience through a better targeted and integrated prevention and intervention plans designed by highly skilled managers. It's the same goal of the civil protection system service. The same goal. You see the European Crisis and Emergency Management, the European Prevention Management Cycle, and the European Crisis and Emergency Management Cycle. Here in green, we speak about prevention, in blue, we speak about the emergency. I think that you know these goals, these functions, analysis for what concerns the European prevention management, because we have to distinguish if it's possible, these two activities, even if they are connected. In fact, in the picture, we have two crown wheels, because one is moving with the other sometimes. They say often. I beg your pardon, but I must go very fast. Here, the European Crisis and Emergency Management, the European Prevention Management cycle, it is better written here. You can catch better the contents. Preparation, prediction, recovery, mitigation, reduction. You know that risk is never equal to zero. We can also minimize the risk, but not rate it to zero. The European prevention is analysis of an assessment of connected environment, geophysical, social, and economic risks, and so on, involvement, allocation of funds, financial reporting. I go. Here we have two profiles. The BREADI project is based upon two kinds of management and the manager, the European Prevention Manager and the European Crisis and Emergency Manager. Also, the civil protection system needs these two kind of profiles. You can see the declaration, demonstrate, and so on. You know these concepts, I suppose. And the importance choose is that the two kinds of profiles must have an education that is interdisciplinary, because we have different areas. For instance, jurisprudence, economics, politics, public and private administration, engineering. I am an engineer, but nevertheless I must know something about law, about geology, and so on. Management of the complexities, social psychology, sociology, anthropology, pedagogy, that are new areas if you see. BREADI is very, very useful in the organization of the civil protection. You see the civil protection organization is up to the presidency of the Council of Ministers, Department of Civil Protection. Here you see the ministry, the components. Here are the operational forces. The President of the Council of Ministers makes use of the Department of the Council Protection for the guidance and the coordination of the Italian services. The presidents of the regions, the autonomous provinces of Trento and Bolzano, majors and the metropolitan majors. Here is a picture with the von der Leyen and so on, Fabrizio Curcio, the president of the government, the president of the region. It's important the mobilization of the National Civil Protection Service. In the case of an exceptional event type C, we speak about the National Civil Protection Organization. The President of the Council of Ministers, with his own decrees, orders the extraordinary mobilization of the National Service in support of the regional system concerned. We have the mobile columns of the regions and autonomous provinces and of the organized civil volunteers. They're very important volunteers. We have the Committee for the High Coordination, which is in the site of the National Department in Rome. The committee is summoned to the Rome office of the Secretary Department and assumes efficient and coordinated management of activities in national emergency. There is the Italy Situation Room Coordination Operation Center, meant that every minister has its own coordination operation center. For instance, only for notice, have been for 10 years about the head of the operational center in the Ministry of the Interior for the fire brigade. There is a staff department of the ministry, the support to the operation committee, the monitoring and the activity. These are the functions, the principal functions in order to make functional the operational center, which is linked with the other forces on the land, on the territory. And with the Central Function Center, we have spoken about it before, the announcement, and we have 4 types of emergency, of phenomena, risk sectors, volcanic, seismic, chemical, nuclear, and so on. Volcanic risk, Italy is a seismic, very seismic land. This is the risk. This is the table of the risk. In red, the principal l'Aquila is here about. Chemical and nuclear industries and transportation. Environmental risk and forest fires. We have a lot of forest fires, unfortunately. And then meteo, hydrological, hydraulic, and landslide risk. Abroad, at the global level, with the ONU, at the European level, with the European Center, MIC, and so on, at the national level, department, and so on. Thank you for the attention. I beg your pardon. Very fast. No time enough.
Thank you very much. And I don't know if there are questions. If not, okay. Today, I think you had information of 2 main things. How European Committee, European Commission, the body, European Union, is organizing the emergency crisis. And then you had an idea of what Italian organization and how it works, connection with the European, how they work. But this is the due information. Of course, each country here, present here has its own internal organization, but the aim of this meeting is to stimulate in the student the idea to make a kind of exercise, but thinking to a real situation, and how they, with their competencies, would or could or should approach this emergency. And you will be free to approach in the exercise. We already prepared some groups, working groups, and you can study the situation, invented the situation, because it will be an invented situation, and you can approach as remedial measures after the disaster, or preventing, or just informing people how to approach from the medical point of view. mobility, movement of people. So there are so many problems that you could see today that it is really impossible to afford everything. But just to figure out how you, also as a simple citizen, not expert, but a citizen, and as a citizen, how would you behave? And also, what do you expect that is done? Okay? Foreseeing a kind of scenario of problems, difficulties that can be many, and you have to see, to invent, to foresee. So tomorrow afternoon you will start on this. Today and tomorrow, sorry, you will be bored with the theoretical part, and but it is necessary to open to put the basis for the discussion. So you will be provided also of the glossary. So when we speak of crisis, what we mean, we agreed to mean emergency, etc., etc., etc. Maybe you have also in the glossary the list of bodies involved in these situations, just to have an idea. Okay, so this is what we will do. And the lunch will be ready very soon if you want. And if you have questions, please.